All right, Pot of Gold, welcome back. I'm Brett. I'm here with Mike, Grant the intern, as usual, behind the glass, running the boards, as usual. Gerald in the chat, ready to go. Notifications on, looking to rip. Mike,
Special guest tonight. We got Blake Baker in the house. Grant looks just like Blake Baker right now.
if John Rahm and Blake Baker did a little mixture of genes, yeah, I could see it.
Let's get Blake's.
You shitting any shoes this week, Mike?
No shit and shoes. No real crazy stories this week. Other than Grant's weather station story, which I'm sure we'll get to at some point.
Like 4 or 5 times this week, randomly out of the blue, I thought of you stuffing shit into this guy's shoes and just hysterically laughed by myself for a second or two. Like it just popped into my head. And I was like, I can't believe that happened. That's so good.
Yeah. I hate that I put it out there because it's probably going to follow me for a long time. I'm trying to forget about it. I've moved on.
Okay, well, we'll move on as a podcast.
No. This wasn't a shot across the bow. It's just, it was disturbing, and it was a big mistake. It was a big mistake. But at the end of the day, the guy deserved it. He was wearing a Bama hat, and Michigan took care of business both games.
Everyone, I think everyone has those moments where they're like, "Am I a psychopath? Am I crazy? I feel like I'm the main character of this story and everyone else is weird, but maybe it's a little Truman Show. Like maybe it's on me."
Well, at the end of the day, though, I think everybody has that moment where they're like, other people do this. Why can't I? Right? Why can't I stick one in the mud? Right? So that's what I did. Honest mistake. Let's, forgive and forget. A lot of news.
A lot has happened. Coaching changes, double coaching. I mean,
breaking news early yesterday.
Almost. Well, we can just start with that. I don't know. I'd been in like a 3-hour meeting. The weather was getting spicy, and I just decided to just fire off some bullshit saying Jaden Daniels was going to be the cover athlete for NCAA announced tonight during the game.
Did you make that cover art?
No, that was Matuk.
Oh, he had that.
He quote tweeted my tweet with the cover art.
Oh, I thought the cover art was all you as well. I was like, holy shit, Matuk just ran with all of this.
No, I literally, and yeah, I still feel like Elon's got me shadow banned to an extent because it's like sometimes
he does.
The numbers don't add up. But so I just put my phone down. I was like, this will be a nice little 20 like tweet. And I looked at my phone like 10 minutes later and it was already at 100 or something. I was like, okay, well, this one's gonna catch some steam. And so many people, even today,
273,000 views.
Even today, people quote tweeting like, please. I'm like, well, the quote said it was yesterday, but
it was a good tweet. It was a fun tweet. And honestly, justifiably so. It should be Jaden Daniels, the most previous Heisman Trophy winner, or a collage of all of them, right?
I can see that. Caleb Williams is like the only other option, I feel like.
But that's the year before. Why would you?
No, I know, but it's like if you're looking for the face, but also I think he would probably be like, I need $10 million for this.
That, and honestly, it's a West Coast company. You might have Penix.
I need shares of EA Sports.
Pot of Gold commenter says the fan base berating Mason Smith all year and also berating Mason Smith for leaving is really a thing of beauty. Now listen, lot to say on the Mason Smith stuff. We hate to start the podcast on a negative tone, but it has been brought up and we can dive right into it. This is my quick piece on answering that question and kind of deciphering the hate on Mason Smith's decision. Mason Smith was a bum this season, right? Let just put it out there. Everyone knows that. That's not even like a hot take. Mason Smith was a bum this year.
Not alone in that.
No, Jordan Jefferson was better. Mekhi Wingo was better. You could make a case that Paris Shand, if he shifted inside, would have been a better D tackle, right? Mason Smith is a shell of who he once was. And I think the frustration is that you saw glimpses of that elite athlete his freshman and sophomore year. And in the beginning, right? And sparingly, I know he had like a couple drives, but there was definitely a step that was missing this year when he returned from injury. The dude played scared. He played stiff. He was protecting himself. The frustration is about the bodies that are left in the room. You have 4 defensive tackles left in the room. Okay, that's insane for LSU to be left with 4 defensive tackles in your room going into this offseason. Now, the frustration is on the potential that Mason Smith once had, right? Potential is better than nothing. So that's where the frustration, in my opinion, comes with Mason Smith, is because he played without a D-line coach. He played with no motivation. He played scared and played to protect himself. So it was almost as if it was a foregone conclusion when he did come back this year that let me get some tape out there and I'm gone, because I don't know if I'm going to blow another knee within the next 6 months to begin with, right? That's the kind of player it looked like he was this year. And I think he could have absolutely built upon his freshman year and early sophomore year potential with a true D-line coach and a focus on raising that stock. That's my gripe on Mason Smith. It has nothing to do with, oh, he sucks and we want another sucky guy coming back. That's not what it is. Mason Smith has potential to be really good. He also has not been coached. He also is playing scared, and he's out of shape.
Yeah. Look, I agree with everything you said, but to kind of like take Mason Smith's side a little bit here, kind of a weird situation he walked into, committed to Ed Orgeron, felt like he really hasn't had a D-line coach much of his career here. No one knew what they were doing this year. So it's like I agree with you. It wasn't the person I thought that we were gonna get. I mean, fuck, man, that about more than any player ever, I've been like Mason Smith, just get ready for Mason Smith, and it just like hadn't really worked out. And I think people are upset because it's like, come back, like we got this new defense, and then we're gonna be able to like you're gonna be that first round guy, and it's gonna be like, whoa, what a great story. And I don't know. I kind of get I'm with you, Mike. It's like maybe get to the NFL, try to get some paychecks and not hurt yourself for your last year at LSU. Like there's so much that goes into it. It sucks.
Yeah.
It's a guy
No,
that's just not gonna have panned out at LSU anywhere near like we thought.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with that, right? Like I'm very injury prone and I'm going to protect myself the best I can this final season and get out of here as healthy as possible. I don't know how long this is going to last for me. I think that's more of the thinking instead of betting on, you know what, Brian Kelly's going to bring in a great D-line coach.
Right.
I don't know who it is, but apparently somebody's going to come in here and work with me that's younger than the age of 85. And I'm going to be able to get my skills sharpened and fix some of these deficiencies that I have and really hone in on that potential. And I don't think he banked on that. He banked on, hey, I've got enough out there with my potential, but I'm also risking a lot of injury-prone tendencies here. And it's not my job to make LSU great. Right. And I've done my time here and I'm moving on. And so that's where the frustration is stemming from. It's more of the lack of roster management on the defensive line than it is more of like Mason Smith leaving.
It feels like we're putting ourselves right back 6 months ago where we're like, do we know who our defensive backs are? Are any of these guys gonna like we just shifted it up. And I think we're somewhat more confident in what the secondary is going to look like next year. You know, hallelujah, Major Burns coming back for a 6th year. Like I know
That's some good player retention right there.
Mike, you were the first person I thought of when I saw that tweet. But
he's not starting. Major Burns is not starting next year. It's going to be Jordan Gilbert, and it's going to be Toviano. Toviano and Gilbert are your 2 starting safeties. Major Burns is not going to start at safety next year. If we're serious about winning championships, Blake Baker is not going to walk in here getting paid $2.5 million to be a defensive coordinator and fix a historically awful defense and say, you know what? Burns is my guy. Fuck developing any of these young cats that have promise. We're going to go with the neck roll.
I would be willing to wager right now that Burns gets the first snap
No. That's some cheap shit. I'm not talking. I'm not talking starter day one, first series. We've seen this play out at LSU where you've got some jabrones. Leonard Fournette's little brother was our starting running back in 2019.
Hey,
If we're going off of that,
let's play a little trivia. Who had the first touch of the season this year?
first touch of the season this year, was it Josh? No,
Rayford.
it was Bradford.
Rayford.
Yeah, it was Bradford. That's why
Here's
I'm
your
not playing.
Leonard Fournette.
I'm not playing that game with Burns. I'm sure Burns will play. He'll play a lot, but he's not going to get the lion's share of starting reps at safety. It's going to be Toviano and it's going to be Gilbert. Those two are your top guys. What?
I was just gonna say, I'm looking at the schedule right now. I was gonna say, like, who's the guys week 3, week 4? Like, Major Burns is gonna be in there in the mix early, and then I don't
They're
know.
going to
Look,
give him a shot. There's just no way with real coaches on that side of the football that we actually make this work with Major Burns. We'll see.
Can you imagine Corey Raymond being like, "What are we doing?"
Well,
What
that's
are
what I'm
we doing?
saying. Hey, could he develop with some real coaching? I mean,
Yeah,
it goes both ways, right? We can say the same thing about Mason Smith. Oh, well, you wanted him to come back
yeah.
based on his potential with some real coaching. Why can't it work for Major Burns? Maybe, but you also have some guys in that safety room that we're gearing up for taking a big giant leap. You need a giant leap to fix this defense right now. This isn't just, hey, maybe Major Burns will come around his 7th year in the program. Like, you need some guys that are going to come in and give you some juice pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think we kind of where that started was talking about roster management, and it's like it is frustrating because it's like offensive line, and sure, we'll talk about Zalance Hurd here at some point in the near future, but offensive line is stacked. Wide receiver room, we lost a 4 or 5-star wide receiver to the portal, and no one gives a shit. It's like
No.
we're good, like we're set. Running back, I mean, shit, dude. We're gonna obviously talk about all these commitments that have been coming through in the last week. Number one player here, number one player there, number one player everywhere. But it's like, and then to just look over, it's like year 3. It's like, fuck, man, our D line is non-existent. It's like
Non-existent.
that's starting to weigh on me a little bit. It's like we can't just have one glaring hole. Like we got to patch at least everything somewhat.
It is scary. And it's starting. There is a narrative that can be created. I'm not creating it, but
Not us. We would never break any sort of false news.
That, Kelly just doesn't give a shit about defense. And this is a Lincoln Riley situation. We're just going to go offense. I don't buy that because you've got some studs, right? You've got Harold Perkins. You've got Whit Weeks. I think Toviano could develop into a stud safety. I think we're going to shore up our corners. They grow on trees down here. We just need to recruit them. We need to be able to sign them. I think defense will come around. It's just if you're trying to convince me that year 3 is a national championship season, you cannot go into the season with the defensive tackles being Jacoby and Guillory and Sean Washington. Like that's just not your top 2 defensive tackles for a national championship contending program. So you need to build depth there. You've got the spring portal window, which will open, and it needs to be an all-out assault on defensive tackles. Now, at the end of the day, I do think that Savion Jones and Paris Shand are better suited for the inside. I don't think Savion has the finesse to be an edge defensive end. He's 6'6", 280 pounds. Put that big ass right there at 3-tech and let him eat. Right? Let him work the inside. Parashan's another guy that played D tackle at Arizona. We shifted him to defensive end. He can play inside as well. So I think there are bodies there that we can rotate. We just don't have that comfort factor going into the season of being, aside from McKinley, right? Dominic McKinley.
You give yourself, the problem is you give yourself no leeway of like one dude turning an ankle, one guy not being good, one guy not making great. Like you can't have
you need at least 3.
It's what we talked about with corner. It's like you have to have Denver Harris be good. You have to not have all these injuries, and it didn't happen. And like, look what happened. Obviously, DBs isn't the only reason the defense sucked, but
you banked on it this time last year. We were banking on hey, he's going to get in the portal. He's going to get some DBs. We're going to be fine. Right. And it didn't work out. Right. None of them
I
hit.
got Southeastern's finest.
Right. Like they didn't work out. So you're putting yourself back in that boat of, we're going to go hit the portal hard for defensive tackles. We're going to get a new D-line coach that's going to coach them up, and we're going to be ready to go. I don't see any way around that the defensive line is going to be our weakest position group, regardless of what happens in the portal, regardless of who's coaching them. It's going to be your weak point of the team going into next season. Now, you've got a brand new defensive coordinator in Blake Baker that's coming in here that loves to bring pressure, that is a phenomenal magician when it comes to linebacker development. He's also very strong in safety development. So you're going to see a lot of pressure on the quarterback. You could see some exotic looks and blitz packages that kind of, help out with that lack of talent on the defensive tackle at the defensive tackle position when it comes to getting pressure with just those guys. You're going to have to be blitzing a lot from that safety position, also bringing a lot of pressure with Harold Perkins and Whit Weeks from the linebacker spot. So I'm comfortable in Blake Baker. Listen, we kind of just glossed over it. Huge hire.
Yeah.
We get Blake Baker, pull him out of Missouri, a guy that was obviously here and developed Damone Clark very famously. But he there's more to him than just Damone Clark's development. He did really good things at Missouri.
Yeah, and I went back and found it. It was like the Jacques Doucet tweet of Scott Woodward dapping up him on the sidelines. Like it was one of those things that it seemed like everyone in the building liked Blake Baker, didn't want him to leave, but it's like once again, when you bring in a totally new regime, it's kind of a casualty of war. Sign up Corey Raymond for that. It's like, hey man, we love you, but like we're gonna let this dude do what he wants to do.
Yeah.
Obviously, hiring Matt House wasn't great, but Blake Baker was never going to be the defensive coordinator. Obviously, like we may have kept him as a position coach, and then he would have gone somewhere else by this point to be a defensive coordinator somewhere.
Right. Right. And we weren't going to keep him as the linebacker coach with House coming in as coaching linebacker. So I think this is the right hire. It's a good hire. It's definitely an upgrade. It's a proven upgrade. And so I think coming into LSU, there's some familiar territory there. He's also a really good recruiter. I'm excited to see a coordinator that's willing to recruit and get his hands dirty and really know the state.
And it's a young guy. Like this dude, if you want to be a head coach, come here, fix his defense. And in 2 years, you're going to be able to go to Baylor. You're going to be able to go to, I don't know, maybe not Texas, but like you're going to have opportunities. I did find it wildly insane how many people on Twitter were just like, are we sure LSU's a better job than Missouri? And it's like, guys, you've been here for 4 minutes. We had the best team in history 4 years ago. Like, what are we talking about right now?
Yeah. And they just lost to us this season. Like it's
your best season ever.
On their field.
Holy daddy.
Yeah, that is the frustrating thing as LSU fans, right? Is that you still have to read some of this craziness where people are and just like, do you not watch the sport?
Put some respect on our name. We just had the worst defense in history, and like we're somewhat close to like still making it happen.
Hey, Missouri, open up with Florida State for the next 2 years, and let's see. Let's see what happens.
I think I was trying to think about it today. I think I was very much like Eli Drinkowitz, whatever his name is a fraud. They're going to suck this year. Like I was wrong. I'm all for Missouri being good. I kind of like Missouri. They're the scrappy little like K-State type team where you're like, oh, every once in a while it'd be nice to see this team make a run. But to like sit here talking about like how I can't believe that he would leave and like, oh, the grass isn't always greener. It's like who we're not Mississippi State. Like
no, we aren't, but I think Missouri feels like they're LSU. Like
it's crazy.
I think it's more of a delusion of who they are than a misinterpretation of who we are. And so, I agree with you. I respect Eli Drinkowitz. I think he's got a good thing humming there at Missouri. I love it in a sense that there's competition in the SEC from teams that you don't expect. And it's a new pipeline of up and comers. Drinkowitz ain't staying at Missouri forever. That dude's going to bail the minute something bigger than Missouri opens up and they come after him. That's why you poach a guy like Blake Baker. Blake's not sticking around Missouri.
As he should, because if you fast forward 2 years from now and Missouri's little Cinderella run here goes south, they're gonna fire him because of the expectations that he's kind of brought to the program. Like, that's just
He
the
was
way
on the hot seat going into this season.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's a I said it in one of the tweets. It's like, one, who the fuck has ever been Missouri's defensive coordinator? And then let's rattle off all of the LSU coordinators that have had head coaching jobs. One of them's calling plays for Josh Allen. You got Aranda, Pelini made the circuit at the like. This is a step. Missouri defensive coordinator is a stepping stone to a good defensive coordinator. LSU defensive coordinator is a stepping stone to a head coaching job.
Right. If you succeed. Absolutely.
Obviously.
And shout out to his wife, Rosalind Jones, former LSU soccer player from none other than Mandeville, Louisiana.
But that kind of pissed me off too, of everyone being like, it was the Denbrock shit all over again, where it's like, well, guys, his wife's from Mandeville, man. Like, it's fucking LSU. I don't give a fuck where his wife's from. You're in Columbia, wherever the fuck Missouri is.
His wife is from a snooty town an hour away.
She was an all SEC soccer player at LSU, though.
No, that's fine.
Right.
But I'm
and
saying,
what's hilarious is like that, for whatever reason, like we have to group in there that she's from Mandeville. It's
that's
like,
the type of shit that
she
happens.
played at LSU.
When a coach goes to North Texas, that's the type of shit you hear of, like, he just wanted to be home. It's like, no, dude, we're LSU. It's the top 6, let's call it top 10 coordinator's job in the entire world.
100%.
So I don't know.
I think the only thing is it's not like right now this defense is in shambles and this is a tough fucking job, right? It's not the LSU days where you walk in here and the cupboard is full and you can walk in and just install your system. And I respect Blake Baker for that. He's coming into a situation where he is going to be remembered and valued for literally every step that he takes to improve this defense. And that obviously we're paying him handsomely to do it. But at the same time, like that, there's a price to pay for that. There's going to be a challenge and you're walking into a defensive line room with 4 bodies. And none of which have ever been true starters. That's a problem.
And you just have to turn around and do exactly what you did 2 years ago. Walk into a pretty poor situation and turn it around quickly. And so it's like, yeah, maybe it is easier to just stay at Mizzou and, hope to improve your defense a little bit and try to take a different job. But like, I don't know, man. It's just, being a coach at LSU is one of those opportunities that doesn't happen a lot. And it's like, you can kind of make your mark and put your stamp on college football if you're the guy that turns LSU's defense back around to DBU and everything.
Clearly, the recruits have taken notice, regardless of Missouri.
Missouri players, LSU players, former players, like it's almost everyone's almost too excited.
Bryce Underwood commits to LSU, the #1 overall player for 2025. If you're familiar with anything to do with the On3 evaluations and the ranking system, he is a 5-star plus, and they throw this plus around now because I guess there's a lot of 5 stars now, and so the pluses are like the unicorns of the class. Bryce Underwood's a unicorn.
So how long until we get a 5-star plus and then a 6-star? There's only 3 6 stars.
He'll be a plus. If it's not on there, he's going to be a plus. Relax. He's a plus. But yeah, it's essentially a 6-star. Bryce Underwood's a 6-star. But he's a plus. There it is. So the #1 overall player in the country, #1 quarterback in the country. We also have the #1 wide receiver in DeCorey Moore and #1 running back in Harlan Berry. Offensively, this is, again, guys, we have to hold on to these reservations. Just like the famous Seinfeld episode. You can take the reservation, but really the hold is the most important part, right? Now, I want to go into that a little bit further because I think this commitment alone, regardless if you hold on to this, is an enormous perception changer for the state of the program. and where we are going in the direction, regardless of what's happening on the defensive side of the football, offensively, you are getting the cream of the crop. You are getting the top dogs on the offensive side of the football when you've got go ahead.
And they weren't born 30 minutes from the stadium.
Exactly. Besides Harlan Berry.
Yeah.
You know, you've got DeCorian Moore, who's in UT's neighborhood, essentially. I mean, I know he's a Duncanville guy, so closer to the Dallas region, but a guy that is playing alongside elite players that are going to University of Texas. And this dude's like, no, I'm going to LSU to play offense, right? I'm going to play receiver. I'm going to be the next Malik Neighbors. I'm Justin Jefferson. I'm Jamar Chase, right? And then finally, you get a quarterback from Michigan, literally down the street from Michigan. He lives near Ann Arbor. And this cat's like, no, I want to be Jaden Daniels. I'm going to be the next dude that wins a Heisman at LSU. Whatever we're selling these kids, they are buying. And that is a program changing class. If you can keep, even if it's just those guys, if you just sign 3 fucking guys for 2025 and it's those cats, you have a program changing team. Immediately, you're contending for the national championship. You got to hold that reservation.
And look, things can change, but it's like normally quarterbacks, once they make their commitment, they're
right.
like, this is where I'm going. But it feels like being this early and all these top guys. I mean, dude, we're in a like Russell Shepard type situation, TJ Finley type situation with Keelan Moses of like,
yeah.
He's an extra recruiter on our staff. It's like all of these dudes are bought in, and I get NIL could come through, but it really feels like, and they'll get NIL at LSU, but it feels like they're bought into LSU, and it's like we're all coming, we're all doing this together. What do we?
This is like the Michigan player rankings, and it's like which one of these does not belong here? Like, look at all the schools. For the top kids in Michigan, like there's literally not a school. What's the most southern school? Like there's nobody.
I was gonna say, I don't see any
12,
SEC.
No Big 12, no nothing.
And the top dog going to LSU. Keelan Moses, how wild is that though? That Dylan Moses' brother is literally the biggest LSU cheerleader I've ever seen. I love that.
You would think he would be like all about saying, yeah, I guess they kind of had some things that they didn't like about Alabama, but like you could easily have seen like this dude being like, well, I'm the next Jack linebacker at Alabama, like move on out. I'm gonna do it. It's just, I don't know, man. We've done a great job of recruiting. I know Underwood said like a big part of it was Joe Sloan, which we still haven't named an OC. I think that maybe kind of tips your hand of where it's going, where he just said like Sloan's on his was on Underwood's ass like every day.
Then what are we waiting for? Like that's what I don't get. And I know it's still very early, but like, what are we, I'm assuming we're just still doing interviews, but
my rationale for this, what I think is that they were waiting and they were going to make the Washington guy say no, and then it was going to be whatever they're going to co-OC bullshit with Sloan and Hankton, and we're keeping the offense, we're keeping all of our guys together.
There was some stuff that I read that not only were we in Seattle talking to the Washington guy, but he was here, that there was a visit from him to LSU recently.
That's I don't know why how they much sucked.
Yeah, I don't know how much I believe that. In preparation for a national championship, he's visiting LSU unless he's really interested. We'll see. It is interesting to see the delay in announcements across the board. You got Blake Baker, but the D-line coach has not been announced. DB coach, Chicken of all people, fucking Chicken on Tiger Droppings posted that it's going to be Corey Raymond for DB coach, and it's happening today, and nothing happened. Unless it's happened late tonight, I have no idea. But yeah, we're still waiting for that to happen. I don't know if this is, hey, it's a week out of season ending. Kelly's on vacation and we're not really doing much. Meanwhile, the roster is starting to bleed into the NFL. I don't know what's going on here, but if you know anything, you know that Big Sherm on Twitter is going to let us know what's really happening. And seconds after Mason Smith announces for the NFL, basically he says, something along the lines of ye of little faith, or, something about having faith that it's going to work out. I don't know. Basically, like, he knew this reaction was coming. Everything's going to be fine. Dominic McKinley, Gabriel Relaford, these guys had to know something about what's coming down the pipe with the defensive line room and what it's going to look like, of who's going to be coaching them. I know a lot has been made about Bo Davis and him coming over from Texas. You would think it's probably done by now if that was the case. But also maybe Moscona said this. I refuse to listen to him anymore. But somebody put it out there that Bo Davis was making some egregious demands, one of which was to have a roster spot for his son that's at Southeastern. I don't think that's egregious. I mean, if the kid's down the road at Hammond and he's playing, if he's a fucking D tackle, get him on the squad immediately.
Who is his son?
I have no clue. I didn't look it up because I don't believe that story. Like, if that's what held up hiring Bo Davis, I don't think so.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. Give the kid a chance.
Yeah. The other one that's being heavily talked about is Peoples. I know what you're thinking. It's very close to Steeples, but Peoples is the D-line coach at Missouri. It is being rumored that he will be coming along board with Baker. I don't know if he coached the edge rushers, right? The jack spot, or, the defensive ends at Missouri. It has been talked about. Do you bring him in for that one position, or has he coached the whole defensive line at LSU? Yeah. So that's a name to look for. I don't know much about him. Off the cuff, there's not much info on him. If Baker really trusts him and he likes him and he's the D coordinator and wants to bring him in, I don't know. You go with that, obviously.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is like we're paying. It's the same way I feel about Brian Kelly. We're paying Baker $2.5 million to do this stuff. Like, we're just gonna have to trust his decisions. But, like, just thinking about, I mean, if you hire Corey Raymond, I don't know that you're necessarily hiring a safeties coach also. So then that kind of opens up a spot for you to have like 2 defensive line coaches, especially if you're not going to really have a linebackers coach. I don't know. I wish it was done by now. I feel like we should know what we're doing at this point, but I don't know. We'll get there in a couple days.
Let me go back to Bryce Underwood real quick, and I want to clarify something here. When this kid signs, I will jump naked into a Bass Pro Shop pond. Okay. Like, the reaction here is not I'm not going to say we're subdued right now, but like, if we actually sign this cat, like, the reaction is going to be far greater than what you just got here. He committed, and I'm ecstatic. I'm just fingers crossed for another year.
12 months away.
It's just a long way away. It's just a long way. We got to go through a whole Nussmeier experience before we get there.
Yeah, Nuss Bus. Potentially, we're going to have Nuss and Underwood on the same roster. Nuss's final season, and then Underwood's freshman year. Nuss has 2 seasons left.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah. Okay. You're right. My math was wrong on that.
So they're both gonna play.
So he's gonna transfer. Fuck.
Right. Yeah. He's gonna be like Lance Hurd. I didn't know this cat was here.
I thought I was going to be the starter. It's like, no, Nussmeier won the Heisman just now.
Now, you could see, listen, Underwood is the type of athlete that he is dynamic with the ball in his hands. He can do a lot with it. He's going to find a spot and getting touches his freshman year. It's going to work itself out. It's going to be beautiful. I can't wait to see it happen. Fingers crossed, holding our breath for a year. Now,
not a Russell Shepard situation.
No, this dude can sling it. And he's like,
just wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
Just wanted to clarify.
He's like, dude, he's a giant. Like, he can sling it around. He can fly. It's going to be sick. I don't want to watch him. Like, I'm not watching his senior highlights unless he signs. I'm gonna put it that way. Now, with that, his junior highlights are ridiculous too. Can we please pull up Lance Hurd's Twitter, or the tweet about Lance Hurd and the Oklahoma airport
about getting
situation?
Stranded at the Oklahoma City airport for 5 hours.
When that was put in the group me, I just read the first sentence. And I was like, oh, Tennessee. I didn't read the rest of it. And then when you came back and said the Oklahoma part got me, I knew basically you were like, Mike, did you not read this whole fucking tweet? And like, I finished reading it and I was like dying on my couch laughing.
I was like, this is way funnier than people are responding to me. Like,
it was hilarious.
Objectively hilarious. Like, if you're Oklahoma, like if you're Oklahoma recruiters, what the fuck are you doing?
I'm trying to find.
I'm just imagining like Billy Embody or Shay like calling Lance Hurd and just being like, all right, fill us in on the details. How'd it go? They left my ass on the tarmac. Had to wait 4 hours for these motherfuckers. Like
the pretzel was cold as shit.
Yeah, just bitching about Oklahoma, just not showing up. What'd you think they were gonna fucking have a limo escort at the airport 100%, for you?
100%. You think you're getting recruited out of high school all over again. You're the hot commodity, and it's like, I don't know.
Tennessee, it is.
Yeah, good luck. Have fun. I mean, whatever, man. Like, you knew what you were getting into. I think you would have gotten significant snaps this year. If you want to go somewhere else, O-line, I feel weird saying this. O-line is a place that I'm not super worried about a guy transferring at this point.
Isn't that wild? I was
Will Campbell's in the portal, sure. If Emery's in the portal, sure, worry. But
yeah,
whatever.
Looking at our roster, like once the Mason Smith news broke, here's the tweet here. I can't really read it because it's pretty small, but
OT Lance Hurd has informed Tennessee coaching staff that he will be committing to the Vols. Space, new paragraph. His decision comes after he traveled to Oklahoma on Sunday and was stranded at the airport. No Oklahoma staff member was there to greet him and waited 5 hours to be picked up. Legitimately hilarious. Like, this is not me like mad that he spurned LSU. Like, if this was a Tennessee player that LSU left at Louis Armstrong International Airport, would be very funny.
Yeah, it's just who tweeted that. What
I think it was Richard like Vol USC or Vol like on 3.
Richard West.
Rich West. Okay.
Dick, how about scrolling through made me. How about Jordy just taking L's the last couple weeks?
Jordy, dude, Matt and Jordy have been just getting spanked around. You know who's not taking L's is Lon Phillips.
Dude,
Lon is just he's owning the show.
The real breaker of news.
Right. It's great to see. You know who else is actually the breaker of news, who has all of these guys beat, is Hayes Fawcett. This motherfucker like gets everybody.
Is this guy?
Okay, so when Harlan Berry committed, he was on the sideline with him revealing his like portrait. It was like the portrait of him committing and with LSU, and he's like, yeah, I had Hayes make it. That's why I wanted to bring him here for the commitment. And they were like, hey, can we talk to you for a minute? Like, they started interviewing him, and they were like, what is going on here? Like, so you're the guy, you've got the news before anybody. He's like, oh yeah, my brand is built on loyalty and trust. Basically all these guys get with me before anybody, and I make the graphics for them days in advance. And it's just like his little business he does. It's crazy.
That's what I was gonna ask, is like, did he start by just like DMing everyone that like, I will do your edit for you?
I don't know. Apparently, like Harlem said, no, I just saw that he does great work, and you know,
well,
all the good dudes. Yeah. I don't know how he started. I have no idea.
I thought it was like an AI, like almost like thing at some point. Like at first I thought it was just like On3 recruiting news guy. And then I was like, oh, that's not, I don't know. It's weird.
No, young dude, obviously, that just kind of got his little niche, and now he's running with this little wave. That's exciting for him. Who knows where that'll take him? But obviously he's probably got a lot of people in his DMs asking him a lot of questions. So that's got to be kind of fun.
There's some updates. I don't know when there's someone quote tweeted.
LSU 28, Vanderbilt 22 at halftime. Is that the update you're talking
28-30.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
Is that the update? No. The update says there's a delay in the announcement due to LSU still working things out with other coaches being hired. They want to announce them all at once, but my source assures me that Raymond is indeed the new DB coach.
Is this from Chicken?
this was just a random quote on there. Not random. Someone quoted it. I haven't found
Who is
actually
it? Who
posted
is
that.
it? Who is it?
Actually, let's see.
All you got to do is look up and say who he's replying to.
I guess that was Chicken. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Got it. So yeah,
but
I like the high energy
so
Grant.
Yeah,
it said there was
Grant's
an
here,
update.
man. Hopefully
There's
Blake
an
Baker
update
brings the
inside.
noise.
What's better than this? Who's got it better than us?
Who's got it better than us? Nobody. We got it. Are we ready to talk Michigan?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know any. No, I don't think any. We'll get there. We'll get back if there was any other LSU stuff we missed.
No, I mean, listen, Corey Raymond, obviously, like he moved back to Baton Rouge. He's just kind of hanging out. Like
he would be employed by someone if it weren't waiting for LSU. Like I don't.
There's
know.
a big debate right now. Big debate. Like there's a lot of Corey haters. Not like unbiased. Not what's the word here? I guess I'm indifferent.
Indifferent was exactly how I was going to describe it.
Yeah, it's one of those deals where like he had a great run of DBs, and they were always just swagged out and physical, very talented guys. Tail end of his career here, it was a disaster. But so was everything at LSU those last 2 seasons. So trying to like circle the DBs as the main reason that everything went to shit under Ed O, it's not really fair. And I don't know. I just look at those 2 seasons as there's an asterisk there when it comes to truly defining like the best of your ability as a coach and a developer of talent. I think prior to that, listen, he's not the godfather of DBU. That's Ron Cooper, and I will stand by that. But he did a hell of a job of maintaining that continuity and getting studs. He's an excellent recruiter. And once they come into the program, he knows how to evaluate that talent within the roster and know who to put on the field early. What freshman is going to break through? Who should we play at nickel that we can develop and then shift out onto the island? Like he had a lot of that going for him, and he had a great eye for that development and talent. So I think Corey Raymond is way more of an upgrade than Steeples and Cooks.
Yeah.
And I would absolutely love for him to be on the staff. Do I think it is a home run whale hire? No. But at the end of the day, like, go find me who is, and go find me that guy that we should be going after for DB coach outside of Michigan's DBs. They were elite. That's development. Those dudes were studs. But I think Corey Raymond going to Florida, he was miserable there. He didn't want to be there. He wanted to be at LSU. And he got shown the door during a time of transition. I think Corey also, there's a lot of talk with Corey Raymond about some of the random demands we used to get every year of like, oh, he's the next DC, or if he doesn't get this raise. And I don't think Kelly's going to deal with that shit anymore. I think it's going to be like, hey, this needs to be fixed. If you can prove you can fix this and we can get back to where we should be as DBU, then let's talk. But right now you've got some work to do.
Yeah, like humble yourself.
Well, and I think getting fired by Billy Napier probably does humble you, and maybe it's like, yeah, you know what? I think I do just want to sit in the DB's room and watch film all day and like not be in charge of a lot of shit. But I'm with you. I think I'm indifferent. There's a part of me that wants probably a guy I hadn't heard of before that's going to come in high energy, rah, rah. I'm going to change the DBs around. And then there's part of me that's like, I think I'm cool with Corey Raymond, just kind of being the cool guy, recruiting, getting the top guys in, and the known quantity of what Corey Raymond is. And I think that's what we're going to get. I'm not doing victory laps. We're not jumping in the Bass Pro Shop pond over Corey Raymond coming back.
Right. And I think a lot of it has to do with his last final 2 seasons. And again, I don't blame him from all of that. Right. Stingley quit. Right. You had a situation where Stingley was an absolute stud in 2019 and then realized that, hey, this is a shit show and there's not much I can do to help this team. That was a reflection on Corey, right? You looked at Eli Ricks bouncing out of there, right? I mean, like there McLaughlin, like there was a lot of guys that he had on that squad that if we were in a better situation with Ed O or a different man at the helm and the trajectory of the program was where it is now, I think Corey Raymond would have been absolutely fine. The DBs would have continued to succeed. So I'm all for a fresh slate, a new start for Corey Raymond. And I think we need that type of blood to be back in our program and a guy that can recruit this state. You get Corey Raymond, Hankton, Frank Wilson, Brad Davis,
Baker,
bringing in Baker now. Like you have to have stud recruiters. Obviously, offensively, it's going to work out. Defensively, you need some stud recruiters. Corey Raymond can recruit. If he can't do anything else, he can recruit.
Let's just take a second to just think about what you just said. Obviously, offense, it's going to work out. We're terrified of our defense.
It's
what
sad.
a time.
It is sad. We just won the Heisman.
COVID changed the timeline. We just haven't realized it yet.
Yeah. So yeah, there's some rumors out there of Corey Raymond.
If Blake Baker, a guy who worked with Corey Raymond's like, yeah, that's who I want as my DB guy, sign me up. If he's like, fuck Corey, he's kind of a dick, I don't want him in my defensive room, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Obviously, with all the smoke out there, it's got to be Corey. So maybe they're just waiting to announce it. If it's just Corey and Peoples, that's fine. I want one more stud recruiter. I want one more. I need a splash at D-line, to be honest. Like that would be the final nail for me. Not nail in the coffin. That's more of a negative term, but that would be the final nice momentum builder going into the offseason to have one more stud coaching hire from the defensive line room and then get some portal guys in the spring. And we're set, man. We're set for next season going into it. The way too early top 25 was released. A lot of, random. I'm about to have the hiccups here, so bear with me.
About to.
Yeah, just no, those are just the, the preludes with just 2. Hiccups are 3 in a row. So the way too early top 25, we're sitting anywhere between the 12 and 15 range. And I think that's pretty accurate. That's actually very respectable for how we were atrocious on an entire side of the football.
We talked about it, I think, whenever Burrow and everyone left, and it's going to be the same thing where we're going to roll into that USC game and they're going to say like 92.8% of LSU's offensive production is no longer on this team. We're going to be like, oh, fuck. So it's like, I kind of get, do I think, and obviously 12 gets you in the playoffs these days, but like, do I think that LSU going into next year with Nussmeier and all the studs we got on the line and everywhere else, also Diggs transferring, I think that was kind of weird.
Weird.
Do I think that they could be a playoff team? I do, but I don't think they've earned being number 6 preseason or anything like that.
I put together a quick early for myself after watching. I put this together on the. What is this? Do we just get spammed in the chat?
It's Twitch, so it's okay. Nobody's in the Twitch chat.
Okay. And this is prior to anyone releasing anything. I'll throw it out there, and it's pretty much aligns with what we're thinking. I like Georgia, Texas, Alabama, Michigan, Oregon, Ohio State, Ole Miss, Notre Dame, Missouri, Washington, Clemson, Tennessee, LSU. So LSU sitting right there at 13. I think Florida State, Utah, Arizona, Penn State, Oklahoma, USC kind of round out the rest of that 20. The rest of them is just we're trying to fill names there. But I think that's kind of your crew going into next season and based off of some of the transfers that we've seen.
Yeah, I think Ole Miss with the transfers they have coming in and the schedule they have is probably going to be one of those that you're going to be looking for a lot of the season of them being like number 4, number 5. Maybe they're going to be good, maybe not, but they just don't really have a ton of games on their schedule.
Judkins leaving dropped them a spot for me. I had them at 6, moved them to 7. I flipped them with Ohio State.
I don't care if it's true or not. I just love when like the best player on the team, like everyone loves, oh my God, no, not a bad word about Judkins. The second he's in the portals, like this dude was a fucking cancer. Lane pretty much told him to leave. It's just like, dude, can we not? It would be like us getting out here and being like, Brian Kelly really thought Lance Hurd was flabby and like didn't really have it. It's like, dude, no, he fucking left. I think the dude's really good at football. It's okay. Like it's okay.
Yeah, Judkins going to Ohio State. That's a great land for Ohio State. Like that looks like
he has an Ohio State feel to him, like an old school Zeke. Like he's got a little bit of that. Like he's gonna look really good in the Ohio State jersey.
Yeah, they've been missing kind of that SEC style back that's going to be up there and wrecking havoc in the Big 10 or Big 20, whatever you want to call it. So interesting to see. Obviously, it's way too early, and we're going to evaluate things later on. But I think LSU does have a good chance next season to make some noise and get into the playoffs, especially with the way the schedules work out. So not only did I kind of put that together, I went through every single one of those teams' schedules to kind of get like a prediction of, okay, if they started here, where do we feel like they would end by the end of the season? And like going through those schedules that everybody's got, like we're going to all eat each other up.
Yeah.
And so you're going to see like a couple 2-loss, maybe even 3-loss teams get into the playoffs. You're not going to have this 1-loss fucking Oregon State jump at number 5. You know what I mean? Like you're going to have a lot of these top teams with 1, 2, maybe even 3 losses. So I think LSU with their schedule, actually, even with USC as the opener, we've got a good shot at making the playoffs based on our schedule. Georgia's got a tough schedule. Michigan's got Texas. They've got Ohio State, obviously, and Washington. I think Clemson's got Georgia and I don't know, a couple other teams. Like they all play each other. Everybody's got a lot.
Yeah. I was looking at LSU's schedule. It's like obviously tough games, but it's like you really almost couldn't set it up better. Like if I had to play the schedule out and pick every game, it's like I don't really know what I would change. It's like you have a break, you know, an air quote break, a not as good team here before you go on the road to this team. And it's like you can just see it all setting up. And then you look at other teams. It's like Oklahoma plays Bama the week before they play us. Florida plays like Georgia the week before they play us.
Florida
Like,
plays everybody.
Dude, I'm telling you, there's no doubt in my mind. Anyone who wants to bet at Pot of Gold, hit the DMs. Like Billy Napier will not be the coach when they come to LSU or we go there. I guess we go there.
I think we go there. Yes, we go there. I think they have a brutal schedule in the beginning. When I say brutal, it's like they're normal, like tough. They have Tennessee, you know, a couple other teams, and then they go into a bye week, and then I think it's like Georgia, LSU, Alabama, Florida State. I think they open against Miami. They play. Did they? No, they don't play Clemson this year.
They open Miami, Samford, A&M at home, at Mississippi State, UCF at home, at Tennessee, Kentucky at home.
UCF got KJ Jefferson.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And then at Texas, home against LSU, home against Ole Miss, at Florida State to end the season.
No buys. Your buy is before Kentucky. So you have buy, Kentucky, Georgia neutral site, at Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, Florida State. That is brutal.
The worst team they play, and I mean, Samford is the only gimme they have. I mean, you're at Mississippi State. That's never an easy game. Like and then
dude, that's like a 3-9 season.
Yeah, they're not making a bowl again.
No.
Well, at most, it's a 6-6 season. Like that's the ceiling of that.
And then you're going to get DeBoer from Washington to go to Florida.
Like I just think back about like our college, like what the college football landscape was while like we were at LSU, and there was no one I was more terrified than what Florida was. It's like Urban Meyer had this thing set up, ready to go. Whoever walks in is just walking into a recruiting gold mine, and it's just mostly like all gone to shit. Like, it's very funny.
All the player like Spikes and Tebow and just Percy Harvin, all those dudes that they had, those guys are all at Georgia or Alabama right now. Like that whole like Florida, South Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, like that whole little area of recruiting that they were able to kind of scoop up on. Nick was like, "No, I'm locking that in." And
that's mine now.
Speaking of Kirby, I know there's some rumors out there that the Falcons are going to entertain a little bit of an interview there to gauge his interest. Would be idiotic, in my opinion, of Kirby Smart to leave college football for the Falcons, but history tells us that this is going to happen. He's going to go to the Falcons. He's going to let college football work their shenanigans legally with NIL and all that bullshit out, and he's going to walk right back into Alabama. That's just how it works.
Yeah, that would kind of suck. That would suck. We need Kirby. We need Kirby to just be like banned from football. Like, we need to find something so egregious that Kirby's done that like no one will even hire. Nick Saban won't even hire this dude as an assistant. Yeah, I don't know. What you want to go into?
We'll talk some national championship. Yeah, I mean, great for Michigan. You know, for all the listeners of this podcast, everyone knows it's kind of like my second team. Blue blood, kind of one of the first teams when I was a child watching on TV. They were just always on, besides LSU. Just the classic maze, the uniforms, just the grittiness, the O-line, the running game. And you got all of that in 2024. In a national championship. It was like the definition of who Michigan is. And it all came back with a historic classic coach like Jim Harbaugh. Like, it was just written. It was one of those storylines. You know, I think I said it a few weeks back. It's like, it just seems as if it's just meant to be for Jim to ride off in the sunset as a national champion. I don't anticipate him coming back to Michigan. And
it's so crazy.
Isn't that wild? And so I feel like this was the only way it could have ended. I don't think Michigan's quote unquote back for good. Like, this is not like, this was a perfect storm for them of just cohesiveness and team. Like, the way they played and the way they executed really basics of football was just so refreshing, in my opinion. There was nothing crazy that we needed to do. Just line up, run the fucking football, you know, basic dig routes here and there, and just play some stout defense, and you're going to win a national championship. And that's what they did.
Taking nothing away from the game, it did feel very weird not watching an SEC team in this game. Like, it almost didn't have a national championship feel of like, it almost felt like there would be one more, like Nick Saban or Kirby was just like waiting for the winner of this game to like actually fight for the title.
And I think that's why the Rose Bowl the week before was so important, in my opinion, because there is no like, well, you know, they
got to play Texas and Washington. Yeah.
Right. And like, they beat Nick, right?
Florida State.
Right. Exactly. Like, Bama was in and they beat them. And it was a legit win, right? It was a physical win. And here they go against Washington, who was like, oh, you know what? Washington's the team that's going to knock them off. And they embarrassed them, to be honest with you. Like, that score, listen, I was sweating a 60 under at one point. Like, they were scoring at will. Why they stopped running the ball in the second quarter? Now, obviously, Washington had adjusted in the second half, but there was a full quarter of football left in the second quarter, and they decided to put it in JJ's hands and start throwing quick outs. It's like, dude, you can get 4 yards a lot easier.
4th and 3. Let's run a play to the boundary here. It's like, no. Michigan's defense, I thought, was super impressive. Honestly, I thought Washington's defense played really good. They had 2 busts and big runs, but it's like, I told you, I think it was 17 to whatever at one point, and I was like, I feel like Michigan should have 30 right now. Like, it really, I almost was like rooting for Washington to come back, because I'm like, man, this defense has just like grinded as hard as it possibly could to keep them in this game. And if this offense can like wake up at all, and I mean, line of scrimmage, absolutely dominated. Once again, that's why I just like gave up on all these like awards, like Joe Moore Ward best offensive line. Like, God, absolutely fucking bull. I felt like I was watching an LSU game from like 3 years ago of just like a complete mauling on the offensive line.
Yeah, because they did well this year against fucking UCLA and Stanford. It's like, okay. Listen, I don't know how you justify keeping that running back in the game the whole time. Like, there has to be another running back on Washington's roster
For real.
that doesn't look like Noah Cain. I think Michael Penix, he shit the bed, in my opinion. I think there was a lot of panic.
Yeah.
I'm not tooting a horn here, but like something told me last week, you're not going to see a repeat of what we just saw from Michael Penix. What he did against Texas was elite, and he has it in him. But the minute you go up against a stout defense like Michigan, and they get in his face a little bit, there was some pressure there, and he was getting rattled. Like, there was throws that were open that he was missing. There was opportunities. There was leaks in that. Like, as good as Michigan's defense was, there were holes and there were leaks. Washington
Jaden Daniels would have found them.
Jaden would have run he wouldn't have run all over Michigan's defense. He would have scrambled and picked up first downs. He would have hit guys that were wide open. The Penix versus Jaden Daniels shit needs to just be dead and buried.
Yeah, I think that ended. You're right though. It felt like even when the few times Penix did have time, it was like, well, I still have to do this sidearm throw, or I'm gonna have to like hop backwards and throw everything off my back foot. I mean, dude, the interception to start I guess it was to start the third quarter, right? Yeah. It's like, I get maybe his arm got hit, but it's just like, what a weird, like, lazy duck to the outside. Like, it just felt like
trying to do too much, trying to prove himself too much. And I feel like that kind of got in his head of like, hey, I'm the guy. Look what I did last week. Like, I got to do it again this week. It's like, just stick to your game plan.
It's like, I'm not Jaden Daniels. You know?
Right. Or Bo.
But I do think Michigan's defense had a lot to do with that. Like, man, I thought their defense looked so good flying around. As much as I love the like Navy Michigan uniform, that felt like that should have been a white versus Washington purple game. Like, I was not a huge fan. Like, it just didn't.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, I don't know why I'm thinking this, but like part of me feels like in a dome game like that, there's something about those all solid unis where it matches the pants, like blue on blue. I don't know if you would have been purpled out, in my opinion. Do you think they would have been just purpled out, or
I don't
purple
know.
on gold?
It just didn't feel. I don't know. It just felt like Michigan should have been classic white, and then Washington rocking some purples. I don't know. It just had a weird feeling to me. But hey, JJ McCarthy does do some meditation. I don't know if you knew that.
Hot take. I love it, dude. Hot take. I do
too.
It's like, hey, dude, he didn't ask for those fucking cameras to be all up in his shit. He does this every game. You know what I mean?
I hate how everything has to be made a thing. It's like, just let the dude do it. And then it turns into like, oh, he's doing it for the cameras. And it's like, maybe he is, but it's like also like, I don't know.
Was he supposed to just like not do it in the national championship?
Like, yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's
out, like, guys. Yeah, it's like that's his routine. He talked about how he went through some mental ups and downs going into college and had depression issues, didn't want to get on medication. And he's on this meditation and mental guru guide or whatever. Like, listen, whatever works for you, do it. Obviously, he's a cool as a cucumber, lighthearted type of quarterback. And he won a national championship. So whatever he's doing, like, good for him. You're right. It was annoying that like everything is a story. Like this kid's been doing this all season long. You may have seen it once or twice, but now like the national championship, you've got every camera crew in the world up this dude's hoodie being like, is he going to open his eye? Is it fake? Is this for the cameras? It's like, dude, let the kid just have his moment.
Also, it's like, kind of got to be pretty good at meditation to like sit there and have all those cameras in your face and you just keep doing your thing.
He didn't open his eye. I was watching. I was like, he's got a blank here.
Like I've I've done my share of like yoga and whatever. You try to do some meditation, and the whole time, all you can think about is like, I wonder what's going on if I open my eyes right now. It's like,
or just like a deep prayer during dinner, and somebody's saying something funny, and you're just like, do I open my eye? Like, did anyone else hear that? You know what I mean? Like that's that moment, especially like right here. If you're watching this clip right here, like
guy.
the camera,
that Snapchat's gonna be sick though.
the camera
is like, ooh, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it.
Right. From every angle. Look, even behind him, they're all gearing up and ready. At this point, though, is where I probably break. I'm just like, I'd probably ask, like, are you all going to be here the whole time? Because, like, this is going to be a minute. You know what I mean? But he got it down. Takes his deep breath. He zones in, doesn't open his eye.
And there's no part of me that wants Harbaugh leaving. Like, I want Harbaugh. He is college football to me. He's a lunatic.
Yeah.
Literally taking out his massive dip as he's running to the handshake line. Like, he's literally asking the water girl. The glasses make his eyes look so fucking big, and he's like eyeballing Holly Rowe. So funny. Grabs the water bottle from like the little sideline girl and doesn't give it a squirt. Like, just hammers it. Like, I love Harbaugh. And I think it was awesome for them to win, but I don't want him to leave. Like, Michigan winning and then him just like going to Atlanta or the Patriots or the Chargers, like, that sucks. Like, I don't want that to happen.
I want Michigan to dominate Ohio State until Ryan Day is kicked out of town, and then they hire somebody better, and it's another big time like back and forth. I want it to be like the LSU Bama days of old. I want it to be what it was there, Michigan and Ohio State, where every other year it's like back and forth, right? Instead
the thing
of like,
that sucks now though is like we're probably going into an era where Michigan and Ohio State are playing each other, and they're like, yeah, but they're both in the playoff.
Yep.
That's what kind of sucks. Like, that makes that game not as fun, but that's a problem.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Hopefully, listen, there's still going to be some human shenanigans that go along with how they pair these teams in the rankings. So maybe they'll try to shy away from that, but we'll see what happens there. But no, dude, when he took the players' sunglasses and put them on and then like kept them on during the trophy presentation, was like, this is going to be the picture for all of history. And you're wearing like these, Kmart sunglasses that are just kind of like for rap videos. And
I bet you would be so mad if you knew how much those sunglasses cost.
Are those real? Do you know?
No, but I mean, I'm sure I'm sure someone, Joe Pomp over there on Twitter is going to have like the NIL value of the Cartier sunglasses that the dude was rocking. No, I don't know. I
love how it popped off too. Like how, he doesn't do interviews, right? And so you can tell he was uncomfortable and was just like, all right, we're done. And like, no, come back. You got to raise the trophy. He raises the trophy. And they say, give us any more last words, or, are we here to stay? Is Michigan back? Whatever. And then he just started getting into it. Like, we did that. And like, and he started just like his true self started to come through. And you can tell the players were just like, we love this fucking guy. And guess what? It took him 5 years to beat Ohio State. This guy, this was a dude that people wanted him to be fired at one point, and they gave him time to develop his program.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time where I was making fun of you because they couldn't beat Michigan State and they couldn't beat Ohio State. And I'm like, dude, it's Harbaugh. And I liked Harbaugh before, but it was like, at what point do you have to just like move on from this? And it's like, credit to Michigan for saying like, no, we believe, we see the vision. And then you get to the playoff twice in a row and get slapped down, but you get experienced guys that are there for the moment. I'm sure COVID with some extra years probably helped out with the nucleus of that team, but
yeah,
it's nice to not have fucking Georgia, Kirby, or Nick Saban racing it every year. And it's like, I'm sure some people would throw LSU into that, but beginning of the season, I'm sure I picked Georgia to win the national championship, and it was like, yeah, I mean, if they're in it, who are they gonna? it's nice to see something different. It's like you said, it's kind of a perfect ending to cap this 4-team era.
Yeah, it's a good little cap. And we'll see what happens next season. It should be interesting. I think moving forward, obviously, some coaching hires to come. Hopefully by the end of this week, probably into next week, we should know exactly who our staff is. And we get prepped for a repeat of a national championship baseball season.
Oh, I can't wait.
Brett is on board. He is gearing and ready. Before we go, I do want to mention one Saints thing. What do we feel about the Dennis Allen, the Jameis Winston situation? What a way to end that season, huh?
Just when I think I can't love someone more, Jameis Winston goes out and does something like that. Like, dude, that interview.
Yeah. Was that Ed Daniels?
I know Garland was the one who tweeted, like, was his tweet.
Okay.
But just to see the whole thing, like, I'm so sick of everyone on Twitter being like, this is the NFL, grow a pair. It's like, I agree if we lined up in the I formation. Like, I think lining up in victory and handing it off is pretty bullshit. Also, fuck the Falcons. I don't care. But like for Dennis Allen to be like, I did not condone that, and then 30 minutes later, a video of him of Jameis in the locker room being like, oh no, I get it. Like, he said not to do it. However, like, he hit us with the hardest Stephen A. Smith however I've ever heard. I cannot love Jameis more. It's a travesty. It's a travesty that, like, he's not actually playing quarterback somewhere. Like, it disgusts me. Fire Derek Carr.
Like, this part seems fake, where it's like the camera's over zoomed in.
Well, I apologize to DA because the play was
the whole thing.
Also explained to DA that it was a team decision, and I think when you have a team morale, and I asked the guys, I said, guys, like, what do you want to do? We know how much Jamal means to this team, and I understood from DA's perspective, so I give him that. Yeah, but DA didn't condone that at all. You know, he didn't. However, we decided as a team to do it, and man, we got an interception to the 1 yard line. You know, like, so if we would have scored, it still would have been disrespectful. Right. You know, so
Tyron wasn't in on it, was he?
No, Tyron was not in it.
No, I'm just kidding.
Like, it was an offensive team discussion. However, when you return the ball to the 1 yard line, and you have that opportunity. We just had that opportunity, and we decided.
Do you think it's the kind of thing, though, that is forgotten fairly quickly, or, you know what I mean? Like,
I think it should be forgotten, especially when the score is already 41-17. So I don't know how much worse it can get. But I got a ton of respect for Arthur Smith and the coach that he is. I think they do some incredible things. I didn't want to disrespect him. That was not my intention. My intention was to lead the team that I've been with the entire year, and we made a collective decision that we wanted to get one of our guys who they fight with blood, sweat, and tears every game in the end zone, and I'm gonna feel good about that. Yeah, but
he's literally the best.
No regrets. Well, this is the thing. It's about the team. It's not about regrets. It's not about anything else. It's about.
It's phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. But how the hell do the Saints keep Dennis Allen at this point?
When Vrabel's getting fired, Belichick's probably getting fired. Like, it's a joke. Absolute joke.
But it's like, if we were going to fire him
today.
Yeah, today's.
Yeah, I feel like if you didn't do it today. So, I don't know. My thought of it is, I mean, we'll be quick. No one cares that much about the Saints right now. But it's like, part of me feels like they're going to let him. They're going to let him coach. They're going to make some changes. I heard they're hiring John Gruden on the staff.
I did see
That's
that.
the latest I heard today.
So, but all that means is
John Gruden will be our interim coach.
Exactly. He'll be the interim coach, and he'll be obsessed with Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Spider 2Y banana.
So I think Dennis Allen, there's no way unless he like wins a division, but like goes like 12-4 or like, what is it, 13-5 or whatever it is. If he did that next year, then he keeps his job. If he starts the season off,
I will never
9-8, 8-9. It's not.
There is a video of Dennis Allen walking into the stadium, rolling his bag. I will never think of Dennis Allen any other way other than that. Like that is how I will always remember Dennis Allen, and it is the cringiest walk I have ever seen.
It's the look of a guy who just told like the people at the Southwest desk, like he gave them a piece of his mind. He was like, "Fucking, I won that one. I got first class upgrade, like sashaying out." Like
it's so bad.
It's so bad.
Here it is.
Just sunglasses on. This is the worst bachelor party of all time.
What are they wearing? They have like tight ass.
There's so many titties. Like you almost have to censor this video.
Yeah.
Like this is
with his latte in his hand.
Someone posted that and they were just like, yeah, Dennis Allen's an Aggie for life. He should just go back to College Station. Just like the way he's strutting around with his Samsonite. Who knows?
And the way that he's got the same record, 8-9, 9-8, 8-4, whatever it is.
It did send me down the Jameis Winston rabbit hole of just the funniest videos on the internet. And I got to, for the first time in like 3 years, I watched when Harbaugh was, I think he had like just got to Michigan. So he was doing like acting like it was going to be the combine interviews and asking Jameis questions. If you haven't seen that or haven't watched it in a while, just Google Jim Harbaugh, Jameis Winston on YouTube. It's the funniest 5 minutes ever because Harbaugh has no idea about the crab legs incident. And it's just one of the funniest clips ESPN's ever put out. It's like, oh yeah, there was the crab legs incident. And Harbaugh literally goes, what do you mean crab legs? It's so funny. It's like it's perfect Jim Harbaugh before we all realized he was the weirdest dude. And like, prime Jameis of like, well, this dude may be on the spectrum, but he's also like the most elite quarterback in the country. It's just like, it's such a time lapse.
This also has to mean that the Ravens win the Super Bowl.
A little Harbaugh,
little Jim and John. Yeah, dude, we haven't seen the last of his parents. Is what I'm saying. This is just the beginning.
I have been pretty out on NFL this year, so I'm pretty excited to lock into the playoffs. Didn't realize everyone was so anti-Eagles at this point.
Haven't they lost like 6 in a row?
I think it's like 5 or 6. Yeah.
They fell off the face of the earth.
How about Jacksonville posting a tweet like a month and a half ago, like get your playoff tickets, and then never winning a game after?
Yeah, their playoff percentage was like 96% like 5 weeks ago. And
Joe Flacco is just carving up the league.
Houston's on a little run here. I think this obviously the sneaky team is the Lions.
I want the Lions to win it so bad. We gotta go to the Cock to watch the Chiefs.
Oh, I know, dude. The Cock's got the Chiefs and the Dolphins. The Dolphins are just being destroyed right now with injuries. It's crazy. Like every game.
Lions Dolphins, I think, would be like my dream Super Bowl. I like both those teams this year. I don't really care about any NFL teams normally. Dan Campbell is like one of my favorite humans on the planet. And I just like that Mike McDaniels is like playing Madden out there.
I like him too. I've been watching a lot of the Dolphins this season. I think there's just a little bit of that injury bug. There's something missing. They're dangerous. I mean, I think they have a great shot in beating the Chiefs. The Chiefs are not that great this season, so we'll see how that goes. I do think that this might be the year the Cowboys make some noise. I know it's every year.
Don't buy into this, Mike.
I know, but there's just something about the Cowboys right now.
You're gonna bet Cowboys minus 3.5, and like halfway in, you're gonna be like, I've made a huge mistake.
The NFL I have learned is you have to do live betting. You can't go into this with the pregame bets. It's just never even close.
Is that it? Is that a wrap?
I'm done.
LSU's up by 13.
Look at that. Yeah, I mean, are people back in? I paid no attention to basketball. Thought everyone hated McMahon, and now everyone. I feel like every time I hit the rant, people are like, "This is great."
Well, because we curb stomped A&M at home on Friday night, which it never gets old beating them like that when they were favored by like 8 or 9.
Speaking of, is A&M like are they terrorist organization? Weren't they like selling nukes or something to somebody?
I didn't see this.
I don't remember it now.
The only thing I saw is that there was some type of hidden tunnels in New York where a bunch of a bunch of religious people were under there. That's all I saw.
A bunch of rabbi.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, what a world. What a world where literally New York, there's just like an underground community apparently of just people getting after it.
Meanwhile, I can't take a left on the beach.
You can't, yeah. You have drones and the SS Minnow Johnson like tracking you.
All right, guys. Till next
We'll
time.
do it again.
Over and out.